Welcome to Duluth. I can't even say it. The Duluth Conservative Show, where we were
Good
going to
start.
talk about news stories you may or may not have heard about, and in a fairly calm and relaxed way. And we're going to go through a bunch of stories, do our commentary, but then post links to it eventually in our live stream, and then come back and do it all over again next week. So, how you doing, Dave?
Surviving. Still here.
That is
Nothing
a
too
good
exciting
sign.
to report.
We got a lot of stuff coming up in Duluth. We're going to have Grandma's Marathon coming up pretty soon. A lot of 4th of July celebrations. We'll touch on that a little bit. But we got a lot of stuff to go today. 22 pages of stuff. But fear not. We're going to try to get this through in an hour and some change. What that means is we're going to touch on everything, but we're not going to delve into many of the stories ourselves.
Or 6 hours, whatever comes closer. So
I'm going to do my best. I'm just going to cut it off at some point. Say I'm done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go through the first one. And I don't know a lot of people in Minnesota know this, but during the trifecta, our vaunted Democratic Party pushed through a law that said children under the age of 13 can't face prosecution. It's a new state law, goes into effect August 1st, no longer allow 10, 11, 12-year-old children to be criminally prosecuted. The law passed 2 years ago by state legislators now requires children under 13 who are considered delinquent or have broken a state law be redirected to social services. So this is pretty scary. It says here, Anna Broxkoff is the Human Services Director in Brown County. She's also part of MACSSA that says while the violent acts in that age group may be few, counties aren't prepared for those situations. From a human services perspective, that's a role that we're not used to dealing with in terms of addressing public safety for people that commit crimes against other people. We are really looking for some reasonable exceptions for those violent crimes. So they don't even exclude violent crimes in this. Let's see. What did Bloody Mary have to say about this? Let's see. Where did she go? Oh, Moriarty said kids are already walking out the door without charges. So the law change will help to get child offenders the resources they need. So we're not charging them anyway. They're not paying any price anyway. So I guess we don't have to do anything, huh? What do you think, Dave? Do you think this is going to be good, or do you think these kids are now going to get recruited to commit crimes knowing that there'll be no consequences to what they do?
Yeah, I mean, just look at the carjacking in the cities. I mean, it's they can carjack 3 times a day, get arrested, get booked, thrown back out on the streets, carjack three more people, and nothing happens to them. So hopefully, I don't think anything's ever going to happen to them. And now it's going to get worse because now they know even violent crimes, they could kill someone and they know they're not going to get charged for it. So,
right. It's just a furthering of the lawlessness that seems to be imposed upon us people that don't break laws. It seems like the harshest penalties and the stiffest prosecution comes against minor infractions, let's say speeding or taxes, but the violent crimes are not being prosecuted whatsoever in this state. And it's not just this state. I know it's countrywide, but this state is pretty on the tip of the spear when it comes to it. And during this trifecta is when a lot of this stuff got pushed through.
Right.
So my message to people that are voting in this election, find out if the legislator was in office during that time and do not let them go back in, because this is just one of the many laws that they put in place, and they put a big, nice delay in it so they wouldn't be tied back to them doing it, right? They could have implemented this right away, but they waited for 2 years in another election cycle. Well, they're not associated with this problem anymore. They just go off and campaign like they have nothing to do with it. So I hope this isn't another way to try to get gun laws in this state and try to ban guns, because if kids start using guns, well, you know what the solution is going to be. We created the problem as the government. Now the solution is the government. and that's a typical thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with the Family Leave Act. It didn't show up until they were out of office, or not, not going to get blamed for it in enough years. So,
you can't directly tie them to it because they put enough time delay in it so that they can just say, oh yeah, that's a horrible thing.
yeah, of course it
The
didn't
reason
work
I
out.
wanted to bring
It's
that
not
one
big-
up, the reason I wanted to bring up first was that Texas teenager that got stabbed in the heart, that was a 17-year-old. We're talking about a 5-year gap between, a 12-year-old and a 17-year-old. And that has been a very interesting case. That kid, and everybody knows about this story, so I'm not going to delve into it too much, but the kid got 35 years. I don't think that's enough. I think I heard that if he has good behavior, he can get out in half the time, which is about 17 and a half years. It doesn't seem enough when you've intentionally killed the kid, but he didn't get it for first degree, I don't believe. I feel sorry for the kid obviously the kid who got killed. The kid who did the stabbing, it just seems like he just wasn't brought up very well. And he's a kid, so he's stupid, and I don't say that with any offense. It's just your brain is still, developing at that age. But the family too. The family is taking all the money he got, apparently, bought a new house, bought a new car, and then are making him use public defenders. The money that was supposed to have been raised by people to help with his defense, even though it was a pretty indefensible thing he did. So his family seems to be just taking advantage of him and then throwing the kid away, unfortunately.
Yeah, they won't see him. They won't even go visit him in prison for 20 years because she's got 4 or 5 other kids, or something like that. Yeah.
And the kid, he's going to get out of jail at 35 years old. Just the prime of your life to go. And what are his skills? What has his life been? Prison. So I don't see a bright future unless he takes advantage of all the education you can do in prison or something like that and turns his life around. He doesn't seem like he has that tendency, but we'll see. It's just really unfortunate. And I feel sorry for the family of the kid that there was no reason for this. There's absolutely no reason for this.
Yeah, and once again, the media just covered everything up, made the shooter or the stabber as a victim, and I went back to my Ferguson days where Ferguson, Missouri, you didn't hear the truth about what actually happened until after the fact. So I just held my judgment on the whole thing until after the ruling and after the court case, so that we actually knew what the facts were. And the media completely changed the narrative of this, and it's good that jury didn't fall for it. So,
well, I know that the lawyer tried to somehow make it so that it was self-defense, or and it just wasn't. And the funny thing is, not funny, the sad thing is, I'm watching interviews of people on the street and they say, well, take it away, say that it wasn't self-defense. Would you agree with the verdict? No, I wouldn't. It's tribalism right now. And it's really, really scary that you will not look at a crime of somebody, all we saw was what the media showed us. We don't have all the details, but it only took them 2 hours to come up with this verdict. So it was pretty open and shut, and they have video of it. It's pretty apparent what happened. But still, some people will just say, no, he's being a victim. He's being railroaded. It just doesn't make any sense. So I wanted to bring up also that his family is now forcing him to file paperwork claiming he is penniless, destitute, and indigent in an effort to obtain a free appellate lawyer. And it says, despite moving into a $900,000 home and purchasing a $150,000 car. So not the greatest family, man.
No, it is.
Right.
That's his going to prison photo. And I mean, well, I suppose that truck could be 150,000, but not really. I don't believe it.
I can see it given the prices I've seen lately.
Yeah.
The reason I wasn't going to go over this story because it's so well known, and we kind of try to do stories that people may not have heard of, but I wanted
Yeah.
to dovetail into this next story, which is in Mankato. Have you heard of this, Dave? I'm very curious if anybody's heard of it that's watching. A kid
I
named
heard
Tyson
very,
Goodsell was killed in Mankato on May 23rd. In Mankato, he was shot in the head, executed in cold blood by a gang of Somali immigrants in Mankato. He was shot in the head. He was gunned down execution style at his Hyundai at 11 p.m. after leaving work. His car smashed into a townhome. His mother heard the gunshots from her own house. And the shooter, Adbit Kahar Baki Modihan, and his accomplices, and I'm not trying to butcher that name. It's hard for me to say that name. Accomplices Ahmed Fouad Muhammad and Ahmed Muhammad and Ryan Woolner were busted. So I didn't even hear of this story. Did you hear about this?
just very, very little. They just breezed over it. They just said someone got shot in Mankato. So,
And so I looked up CBS News. I wanted to see what mainstream media was saying. And what they said was they arrested a 20-year-old St. Peter, Minnesota man, and an 18-year-old Mankato man and 23-year-old Shakopee man are also in custody and face 5 felony counts. They make no mention of these being Somali immigrants at all. And it's part of the news story. It's not your job as the news organization to try to whitewash this stuff because you may think it may make people look good or bad. Your job is to report the news. But they don't do that. Not at CBS. So I can't remember where was I got it off of just an X account that I got the whole story of who it was. Just disgusting though. And you won't hear about it. There's going to be no parades for this kid. There's going to be no mayors kneeling down and crying at his casket. But the family gets to live with this the rest of their lives. So it's pretty sad. Not really happy news day.
It ties right back to the first story is if they don't find out from under 13 that there are consequences for your actions, then they keep doing it until they kill someone. So this all ties back into that first story of at 10 to 13 years old. I don't know if you remember back in the day, they had a series on the cable networks called Scared Straight.
Yep.
Where they take kids like that and brought them into real prisons and showed them what life was going to be like. That's what has to happen. There has to be consequences for their actions. And right now, the Democrats in the state are saying, "Oh, look, we just eliminated consequences."
Oh yeah, then the crime rate goes down. That's why. Then they can point at that and say, "Look, we're fixing the crime around here."
Right.
And we're going to talk about a couple. I know we have a story coming up about the crime in Minnesota, but we'll wait that for later. But you're right. The first 3 stories all tied to each other. So the dumbing down of the law, the watering down of the laws in Minnesota, the kid that was doing the stabbing in Texas, and then in Mankato where a kid got executed. And you're right. If they train them at 10, 11, 12 that there's no consequences, they're not going to learn it at 13. They're just going to try to get away with it. And they're going to be used. I think they're going to be used by criminals to do things now.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the truth.
Let's take a hard right turn because that was too serious a stuff. And I'm going to talk to you about this isn't a funny story. It's a good story though.
No.
So people are talking about executives' salaries, right? You shouldn't have this much in a private business. They're trying to control executive salaries. Well, this is a great story of where I think you should be controlling executive salaries. I don't think you should do it in private businesses, but here it's saying U.S. to tighten rules regarding nonprofits paying excessive executive compensation. That is exactly where the government does have business going in. These are nonprofits. They're not paying taxes. This is where we can control that kind of thing. So if you're for executives getting less money because they're, whatever you think, that's up to the board. That's up to the people that own the company. But these are the kind of things. If there's a nonprofit especially a charity, there's no reason those guys should be making excessive salaries. They should be making very moderate salaries, actually.
Correct.
Otherwise, what is your donation going for? Just to pay these people? Between paying those people and the advertising they do, how much money actually goes to the people they're trying to help?
Yeah, and we did a story around around Christmas time about doing the same thing. Is we showed a list of charities where how much money goes to the actual person or the animal or the kid who needs it. And we did a story on that, and it's the same thing. If you're paying like the Red Cross, they pay their CEO $2 million a year.
Right.
That could be going to help people. So knock that down to, 250, 125, whatever the governor's making.
Yeah. I mean, I had a conversation with my good friend June, and we're in total agreement. So like, you want to contribute to someplace and they'll send you a t-shirt or something. It's like, okay, I kind of get a t-shirt. You maybe can do advertising for that charity, but at the same time, keep the t-shirt, keep the bag, keep the duffel bag, keep your baubles, and put that money where it's going. I don't want that kind of stuff. I get it's marketing, but at the same time, it feels kind of as much advertising as there is. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, and running a campaign, you know how expensive advertising is.
Ugh, it's horrible.
Right.
Here's another completely non sequitur here, but it's SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used $4.1 million. And this kind of ties into the previous one, nonprofit, used $4.1 million in donations to fund the KKK and other extremist groups. Can you believe this? This is how they use the money: to attend and host extremist group rallies across the country, grow existing chapters of extremist groups, create new chapters of extremist groups, recruit new individuals into the groups, make donations to them, purchase materials for cross burnings, which I'm just going to take a little side here. I never understood the point of that. I don't even understand the concept of a cross burning. Create racist paraphernalia and extremist groups that extremist groups sold at rallies, publish extremist literature used for recruiting more members, pay everyday living expenses, which allowed the Fs to focus on the fascists to focus on their extremist groups rather than seeking other employment. They funded these groups, and then they raised more money so they could combat these groups. This is a perpetual motion machine, right? They're funding the groups, and then they get more funding to fight those groups. So they fund the groups, so they get more. It's just fleecing of money against people who are trying to do the right thing and saying, yeah, we shouldn't have these extremist groups. Well, the way to get rid of the extremist groups, apparently, is to get rid of the groups that are fighting the extremist groups, and then they go away.
Right. Yeah.
I'm shocked.
I guess I'm not shocked, because if you look at Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, they're the same thing. Yeah. They're stoking every time we get, take another step and get rid of racism, they're stoking it. And the last time, the George Floyd stuff, Al Sharpton shows up in a private jet. Oh, right. Really? So
see how impressed he was.
Yeah, he needs to fleece. He's a grifter, and he needs to fleece. Keep that going to put money in his own pocket.
Right. All right. Next story. Judge blocks Trump's sweeping freeze on immigration benefits. Benefits for 39 countries. In a scathing ruling, a federal judge accused the administration of using pretextual concerns of national security to mask anti-immigrant sentiments. Well, you know what? I wish these judges would get on board and start helping us, the American people, like they're supposed to, instead of trying to help every other country's people. Do you ever feel like we're nothing to them but pawns and working bees? We work to make the money so they can give it to other countries, other people, just so they can make our lives worse. Are we dead and in purgatory? I mean, geez, I don't know.
And what law is he following?
Yeah, I don't know.
where in the law books it says that we have to house and feed and put all this money into non-citizens?
Yeah, or other countries at all. All this
Yeah.
foreign aid we do. It's totally
Yeah, where's the
against what
law?
our founding fathers wanted, which was isolationism. You know, basically it was, especially because Europe was the big power at the time, let Europeans deal with European problems. That was their whole motto.
Yep.
And sure enough, we get pulled into these conflicts, get money sucked out of us. You know, with all the fraud too in Minnesota, think of what we could do with a balanced budget. Because of all the fraud in Minnesota, we can't have that. You know, when
Right.
I'm on the election cycle and people are asking, how do you fix the taxes and you know, the problems with spending? We fix the fraud. That's the key to everything. That's the first step. We got to get other stuff
Right.
into the state, but that is number one. All right. And then the last
Absolutely.
story in the top news thing is, and this kind of relates to the same thing. A progressive Christian denomination is facing sharp internal backlash over a proposed rule that would require ordained clergy who are married to be in a monogamous sexual relationship. Why would a Christian organization be opposed to that? Why would they have to introduce it in the first place? But why would they be opposed to that? And this is kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about for many years, is it seems like the Christian church has been infiltrated by people who want to destroy it from within. They teach
Right.
things that are not part of the Christian faith. They just look, I mean, and you can look at any denomination, you can look at any kind, you know, you can look at the Catholics, you know, and I don't like to pick on Catholics because I know a lot of Catholic people and they're great. The rank and file are great people. But look at the priests who were all pedophiles, and you know, that's just evil. And that's infiltrating the church. You should not be, if you have those tendencies, you shouldn't even be a priest. You should take yourself away from it and know that you're wrong. But they just stayed in and then they covered them up. It was horrible. That's just one example.
And I think covering it up is worse than, just as bad as the actual action.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Just,
yes.
The church didn't do it. The individual did. Throw the individual under the bus.
Absolutely. That right to the authorities. Excommunicate them, throw them to the authorities. They should be going to jail. You don't protect these guys. You certainly don't move them, but you don't protect them. And I would do that to anybody if I found out that was the case. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. You don't pick on kids. You don't go after kids. You don't go after the elderly. You know, there's a lot of lines in the sand that I don't accept. You know, don't go against women. You know, don't go against anybody basically. But if you're attacking people who are really vulnerable, like children, there's a special place for you. And it's not in the Catholic or Christian churches. I'll tell you that right now.
It's from the tallest tree back in the woods.
You're right. Anyway, I'm not trying to gatekeep Christianity. This is pretty basic stuff. I mean, all right. So that is the top stories. Not bad. 27 minutes. We're going to move on to Duluth news because we're a Duluth-based couple people, and we've lived here. We grew up here. So we're going to talk about Duluth news, things you may or may not have heard. UMD's students are facing a 4.6 cost increase. So U of M, so the University of Minnesota Duluth is a subsidiary of the University of Minnesota, which has put on a 3.8% tuition hike. Additional increases in room and board costs and student services will increase costs on the Duluth campus by 4.6%, or an estimated $1,200 per student. Wow.
Yeah. And then and we just talked about last week, they gave them $3 million or $4 million for elevator repairs, and the state gives them money, and the feds give them money, and
we fund them
they're still
quite a bit.
Yeah, and they're still fleecing the students for more money. I mean, this is a story we do every single year. It's like, okay, stop. What are you doing? No one can even afford college anymore. It's ridiculous.
Well, I don't understand why people go for philosophy degrees. I mean, a 4-year college philosophy, you know what? You could actually do that online and learn about philosophy. What do you do with a philosophy? You can work in politics, you can work in certain areas, but you have to have a different skill. You're not going to be a philosophy teacher. There's only so many spots. and there's a lot of
Right.
people that want them. So, and there's communications. That's a very general thing that even when I was going to college, communications was kind of a catch-all. People could do that, but there's very few jobs and a lot of people looking for them. So if you want to be hugely in debt, go to these high-priced colleges and get these degrees. And then where are you going to use them? I don't know what you're going to do with them.
Right.
So keep that in mind. If you're going to go to college and you're going to fund it from loans, it seems like an okay idea when you're going to college because it seems like you'll never have to repay those things. But trust me, you can't file bankruptcy out of those things. They stick with you. So
That's why they don't teach you how to do math in high school, so that you go to college and don't realize that you're never going to be able to pay the loan back. So
I think that's true,
yeah.
And you know what? I was like, I could have had a philosophy a minor. I loved it. I loved those classes. And I'm not trying to take a shot at people who do it. That's great if you want to do it, but you got to realize if you're getting a loan for $120,000 over 4 years, 8 years of college, and you're expecting to get a philosophy job paying that back, I don't think you're going to be able to do it. But tell you what, do the math. Like you said, learn the math, but do investigation and get a major, or don't go to school and maybe do it in a different way. I don't know. But, they keep rising. The cost. $1,200 a year is a big chunk. I can't remember how much it was when I went to school, but it wasn't much more than that per quarter. Total.
Right. Total, yeah.
But that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So the next thing is, I found this an interesting title. The Duluth News Tribune put out a thing, said, despite differences, Minnesota plans to celebrate America's 250th anniversary. I think it's so sad that people can't be proud of this. I was there for the bicentennial, 200 years. That's 50 years ago. I was only 9 years old, but I remember a huge celebration.
Yeah.
We went around, and I can't remember the guy's name, the trumpet player. We were at different festivals. We even had our own quarter. There's a bicentennial quarter that you get that's only made that 1 year. But it was a big deal. And trust me, this is after the Vietnam War, and right after Nixon. And you think the country's divided now? It was bad back then. I thought, it looked like things were going to go to civil war back in the 70s. People were disrespecting the military, cops, it was bad. But we got together and celebrated this country. But now they're putting out these articles. Well, despite differences, we're going to get together. Well, I don't think it's that way. I think people should be able to get together and be proud of this country. We're not a perfect country, but we're pretty good. And we keep learning. You can't hold things against people today that happened 150, 200 years ago, just like you can't take credit for what they did. We can't take credit for the guts it took to separate from Britain. But we can look at that and say, that's inspirational. And that's the same thing for anything bad too. We can look at it and say, well, that was bad. Let's not do that again. Let's learn from that. So there are a few events coming up in Minnesota. In June on the 13th, there's a freedom round around the globe, a new history of the American Revolution reading at St. Paul, hidden histories of the American Revolution talk in Worthington, Minutemen Press Uptown's 250 Years of Freedom art contest, American Revolution Experience traveling exhibit in Fort Snelling. A lot of stuff in the Twin Cities. Hidden histories of the American Revolution talk in Waite Park, Independence Day celebration, Lake of the Woods. That's way up north. Bike parade and Rochester Fest, or in Rochester, during Rochester Fest in Rochester. In July, on the 1st through the 3rd, American Revolution Experience traveling exhibit at the Mall of America. July 2nd to the 4th, 250 party at Cormorant Village in Pelican Rapids. July 3rd through the 6th, Wave of Independence Festival in Wool Road. That's again up north. Reading of the Declaration of Independence in St. Paul on July 8th. That would be a really good thing to see. Then people should read it. I mean, people really should read it. Even if you don't memorize it, you should read it. And then the American Revolution Experience traveling exhibit in Wilmer and Fergus Falls on July 17th 7th through 17th and 20th through 30th. And you can get all these at the Minnesota or the Duluth News Tribune website. But it's good. Enjoy the 4th of July this year. It should be really cool. You're living through a thing that not a lot of people live through, which is 250 years, and we're a brand new country still. I remember people saying that at the 200. We're a baby country still, and we're still learning and getting better. So hopefully this will bring people together. I really hope it does.
That's why we have UFC fights at the White House.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only fighting that should be done.
Did you see the reflecting pool, by the way?
I've seen some pictures of it. Yeah.
I think it looks really nice. I mean, they cleared it up. They cleared up all the granite. They cleaned it up. They painted it nice dark blue, so it looks really nice in blue. I think it looks really sharp. So I'm glad they did that. It costs a lot of money, but you got to take care of those.
Well, see, Biden planned to fix it. The estimate came in at $331 million to clean it and to fix it and to repair it. And Trump actually got it done for $3.2 million.
Oh, really? I thought it was more like 10.
Well, that was the last number that I heard, but still, to get an estimate of 330 plus, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, we can fix it for a couple mil. Yeah.
Multiples order of magnitude. My goodness.
You're right.
Okay, let's go down. I'm going to go down to the Minnesota Homestead Credit will be doled out to offset higher property taxes. So a bill passed. This is now Minnesota legislature stuff. A bill passed by the Minnesota legislature provides a one-time boost to the homestead credit refund, a response to steeper property tax increases imposed by various levels of government. The refund will be 14.88% more for qualified homeowners. So this is a one-time fix. And you know what happens when you go into an election year? You get these kind of things.
Yeah.
You don't expect it next year. We're not in an election year next year. So you've got legislators who impose this tax or impose these huge increases. Well, they're going to, oh, look what we did. They don't say it's a one time. Some of them do, some of them don't. But, better than nothing. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm going to wear gloves while I beat you this time instead of bare-fisted.
Same with the car tabs that they did this year. A one-time reduction next year. So this year we save $147 on average for homestead tax, and then next year we'll save another $100 on car tabs. So bless us, and get out on your knees and kiss my feet, because we're representatives, or we're legislatures that honored you with this in an election year. So vote for us.
It all goes back to that first thing we talked about today, the kids 12 and under not being charged with a crime. When does it go in effect? August 1st, after the legislative session, 2 years after it passed. Let's see. I saw you put this on. Nicole Mitchell is planning a political comeback with a campaign for Woodbury City Council. So this is the woman who broke into her mother-in-law's house, pretended it didn't happen, got convicted, got kicked out of the Minnesota legislature, went to jail. The Senate, and convicted of burglarizing her stepmother's home. She wants to be in politics that bad that she's going to try to make a comeback. What will be really interesting to see is if she wins. Like, what are people willing to put up with? Just like, you heard the story, Hunter Biden is talking about running for president. Hunter Biden. I mean, come on.
Well, this Nicole Mitchell, she's already part of the PTA.
Well, that's not hard.
And which isn't really that difficult. And I don't know, she's a grifter, and she has to get back into grifting. So
she was elected the president of the PTA, or parent teacher, or the PTO. Huh.
Same thing.
That's kind of amazing.
Right.
Okay. Moving on. A little Tim Walz news. JD Vance has said he's referred allegations to the Department of Justice new fraud division for criminal investigation. Minnesota state officials are not above the law, and if they facilitated fraud, lied under oath about what they knew, or harassed or intimidated whistleblowers, they must face justice. Great. Let's see something happening. Right?
That's it. We've heard about the talk forever. I mean, the same thing with what's her face, Ilhan.
Right.
Oh, she did this and she did that. Yeah, fine. Then do something about it.
Right. Do something about it. I would rather not hear about what they're going to do. I'd like to hear about what they are doing. And putting any official in jail for what happened with all the fraud in Minnesota would be a really good start. Right?
Yeah.
I would like to see everybody can't be innocent and allow this to happen. They're either innocent and really, really stupid, or they're corrupt. Either way, they shouldn't have their jobs.
Yeah. So let's see what JD Vance actually does. Are you going to talk about it, or are you going to actually go after these people? Because we're it's getting kind of tiring and old news.
Right. I hear a lot of barking. Are you going to bite, little dog? That's what I want to see. And then the House Oversight Committee alleges failures to address fraud. Ellison Wall's office pushed back. Quote on this from Tom Emmer is Walz and Ellison created the perfect conditions for fraud and then knowingly looked the other way while hardworking taxpayers, disabled Americans and hungry children were robbed blind. Yeah, they didn't just steal this from taxpayers, right? This is money that was allocated for kids with autism, for veterans, for disabled people. They just took it.
Yep.
I mean, it's one thing to steal from just the regular taxpayer base, but to go against these programs that are set up to help these people that need and to take from them is just unforgivable.
Yeah, and I noticed you just posted Natalie Zalesnik, our representative, or she's
Your
trying to get the legitimate ones their money. You know,
Right.
and that's the side effect of what's going on is you have these fraudsters. So now they shut the whole thing down. So now you have legitimate people helping legitimate patients, and they're the ones getting screwed over.
Right. And it's not like
a side effect.
It's not like the Somali ones that just popped up 2 years ago and are getting millions. These are places that have been around 25 years and can prove what they're doing, but they're so incompetent that they can't tell the difference between the ones that are good and the ones that are bad. So they just consider them all bad because they're covering their butts at this point.
Correct. Yep.
I'm going to move on to Minnesota news. So you put a great graphic on here. I don't know if we can post it, but it's South Minneapolis. And this is from Crime Watch. And if you don't know about Crime Watch, there's I think it's a Twitter channel. You can subscribe to it. And it actually talks about the crime that's happening in Minneapolis, which isn't reported anywhere else. And so the Minnesota Fire Department requesting police to respond on a site of a natural gas smell. The Centerpoint Tech doesn't feel comfortable due to the aggressiveness of residents on the site. Dispatcher replied there aren't enough cops to respond due to ongoing issues. And this is, I've heard this before, right? They will attack firefighters and cops going to, I didn't hear it that was happening in Minnesota. I didn't know that was the case, but they'll attack them. They'll steal off their truck. They'll attack the actual firefighters going to fix something. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you just don't hear about it, and we got to start bringing these things up. Why is South Minneapolis that way? You know, these people are coming in to help, and you're scaring them away. Right. So why should they ever come back?
Right, and a natural gas smell, kind of important. You know, things go boom really quickly.
Really, really badly. Yeah, that's really a real bad thing.
Really badly, yeah. Didn't this house explode over in Hermantown like a couple months ago?
Yeah, it was earlier this year, and it was a gas leak, and you could feel the explosion from 12 miles away. So
yeah. Well, I guess it kind of self-solves. You know, the problem kind of self-solves if they don't let the guy come and fix the gas problem. Those people aren't going to be around to stop many more people, I guess.
No.
More Minnesota news. Vance Bolter. So you know him as the guy who went and put on a mask, pretended to be a cop, and then shot a bunch of our legislators. The one woman he shot was the one of the speakers of the House, the co-speaker, the one that voted. She was the one Democrat that voted with the Republicans to get things through, because otherwise they were going to get nothing done that year. And she was murdered, and pretty horribly too. Like, she was trying to run away before he killed her. So let's see. He had previously pleaded not guilty to 6 federal charges, but now he's pled guilty to all 6 counts on Thursday. So this is done because he was facing the death penalty, apparently, and he wanted to not be killed. I guess he wants to live the rest of his life in jail, because that's what he's going to be doing, or in prison.
Yeah.
It came exactly a year after the June 14th shootings. How could it do that? It's June 11th. That killed House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, injured Senator John Hoffman, his wife, Vet, and their daughter, Hope. And I think there was a dog that got shot too.
Yeah.
It's just, this is why we need to lower the temperature and stop calling everybody Nazis and stop hating everybody because they don't agree with your political agenda. So I hope everybody can start doing that. I think this guy was, if he wasn't told to do it by somebody, he came up on his own. You don't just dehumanize and start shooting politicians for no reason. He didn't really give a reason, as far as I can tell. I didn't know what one thing he said that was so egregious that he decided he was going to go start assassinating people.
Well, one of his things was Governor Walz told him to, but
but
he's a psycho.
You can't listen to him.
And then that John Hoffman, the representative, he solved all of those problems because he introduced that bill where that got passed, where he changed a felony to he changed a misdemeanor to a felony for impersonating a police officer. So, he solved all that problem. Yeah, that fixed the whole problem. So
he's putting the mask on. Wait a second, this is a felony. Yeah. I can't do this. I guess.
So that solved all the shootings of politicians in Minnesota.
Right. So. Last piece of Minnesota news is actually a Duluth news. Cirrus Design Corporation was added to the Department of Defense prohibited list. The Duluth-based company, which has a manufacturing facility in Grand Forks, joins a list of 188 companies prohibited from contracting with the department. Now, why is that? It is because the company is owned, I'm trying to find it here. Cirrus falls under the umbrella of the state-owned Aviation Industry Corp of China, which manufactures both airliners and military aircraft. Despite being an American-founded and headquartered company, the organization was listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in 2024. So you are a Chinese company, you can't work for, or you can't do contracting for the U.S. military. I think that's completely fair. Why would we let foreign-based companies do contracting for our government? Doesn't make any sense.
Right. And we've got American-made American manufacturers that'll do the same thing. So
yeah, exactly, with American workers.
Correct.
All right, we're going to move on to national news now. I found this very interesting, especially with the stabbing that happened recently, is that a school in Massachusetts permits Sikh students, now Sikh students are Muslims, a variation of Muslims, to carry ceremonial knives for religious reasons. So remember that you can't go into a school. I mean, there's been kids suspended because they make the little gun motion with their finger.
Yeah.
I don't understand how this is allowed. And if you've been crying about the separation of church and state for many years, this should be something you don't want to allow. There's no reason to allow dangerous weapons into school, especially when you're allowing one section of one type of student to have them and not everybody. That is just a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's either no weapons, or everyone has a weapon so you can defend yourself.
Right. Yeah. It's equal or it's not. Which is it? Okay, we're going to enter into a section here, Dave, that I really was going to start calling the TDS section. And you're going to see why pretty soon. So we're going to start with Elizabeth Warren, a non-related TDS thing, and it's going to kind of push into it. So let's go through these stories. So the first one is Pete Hegseth, Department of War, the leader of that, calls out Senator Elizabeth Warren right to her face. And I think we could play this clip. I don't think it's very long.
We'll see.
I'm not looking for money. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for profit. I don't do it for stocks. And that's part of the reason why I'm able to be effective in this job, because no one owns me. No one owns this department. No one owns this president. And we can execute for the American people, and we do. What I give.
I think that's pretty cool. Because, it would be really interesting if the politicians had to wear, like NASCAR, all of their sponsors, they'd have to wear them on their shirts. That would be interesting.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Now, according to Pete, and you take him at his word, he's not wearing one patch. But Elizabeth Warren, you'd be surprised who contributes to her and gets special interest from her. So the reason, and now we're going to dovetail into another thing. Elizabeth Warren has tried to stop. So have you heard about the $250 Trump coin?
Well, I heard it was a bill, not a coin, but.
Well, it's called the gold coin right here. Now, I've never heard of a living president on currency. So that's kind of weird to me. I can see why he would want to do this, though. He's the president during the 250th anniversary. It's gold. He loves gold. So, but Elizabeth Warren is trying to stop it. Now, she's not saying the reason is because it's illegal or it's not, he's living and you shouldn't do it or anything like that. She's saying, we request that the U.S. Mint halt all production of the 250th anniversary 24-karat Trump gold coin and conduct a public supply chain audit to ensure coins are not composed of illicit cartel-linked gold. What in the world is that?
Yeah. Cartel-linked?
What? Yes. Because what, we seized it from them, or are they providing us gold? I don't understand the whole point of that, but it's such an odd thing. But she has got TDS 24/7. Either she has it or she's acting like she does, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you look at the judges, they're trying to stop the UFC fight. They tried to stop the military parade last year. They tried they tried to stop the reflecting pool. The judges are trying to stop the East Wing remodel. I mean, every single thing that Trump does, they try to stop it. And I think it's, like you said, it's just TDS. It has nothing to do with improving the United States. It has to do with TDS.
The Democrat Party has become the party of, no, you can't do that. You can't do mining up north. You can't bring manufacturing back to the United States. You can't do this. You can't do that. Everything is no. The only thing they seem to be able to do is to tax people to death and prevent anything from happening. So it's pretty funny to watch all the stuff that they do to say no to. And what do they stand for? What do they want? How do they want to promote things? How do they want to generate revenue other than taxing people? Bernie Sanders has now come up with a new tax. We're going to tax all the billionaires because their wealth actually belongs to the government, and everything belongs to the government, according to Bernie. Bernie Sanders, who's never had a job and was kicked out of a communist commune because he was too lazy. Now that's impressive to me.
Yeah.
And he's a multimillionaire. And then you touched on this too. A 69-year-old retired bureaucrat from Alexandria, Virginia, Susan Douglas, is suing to stop the planned UFC Freedom 250 event at the White House. So what's her argument for this, though? So is it illegal? Is it something that she can't, you can't do it on federal? The event would cause her, this is a reason, the event would cause her aesthetic injury, meaning she doesn't like looking at it. She also claims watching it would worsen the physical pain from her osteoarthritis, which I don't understand this. So it's a patriotic celebration featuring Americans enjoying themselves would allegedly cause her emotional distress and physical pain. She shares that she now devotes her retirement to protesting the White House ballroom and construction of the Triumphant Arch, opposing renovations like those of the reflecting pool, and serving as a safety marshal at No Kings protests. So, wow, what a nice retirement that is.
Yeah. So who's got the gun pointed at her head, forcing her to watch whatever something that makes her watch the UFC fights at the White House?
Right. Yeah, I don't
It's causing her
understand
distress.
yeah, if you're going to be paint,
Click.
don't go to it.
Yeah,
I'm not
don't
going
go to it. Yeah.
I can't afford it, I think that's pretty funny. And
Yeah.
then related, former Biden's January 6th prosecutors Act Blue funded firm sues to stop the UFC White House event too. Now they allege the event violates federal regulations by staging a private sporting event on federal parkland, constructing a large temporary structure without required congressional approval, and failing to conduct an environmental review. Okay. So I will take my hat off to them. At least they're coming up with some at least semi-legal reasons behind it, not saying it's going to hurt my back.
Right.
But this is what they do. This is called lawfare. You go after people and just the process is the punishment, right? We're going to make you go through this. We're going to defend it. You're going to waste a lot of money. If the money goes to our lawyers, everybody's happy. When it comes to our side, people donate to it and just say, no, can't do it.
Yeah.
In my point of view, I don't really care. I'm not going to watch a UFC event probably, but you want to have it?
I won't.
Put it together and have it. Hey.
Yeah.
These are the same people that were okay with the trans people out there being topless at the White House in the Easter. So that happened. I don't remember any, major protests to stop that, even though there should have been. So
yeah. Who cares?
Speaking of Act Blue, Speaking of Act Blue, see how this just tails into one story after the other. Act Blue, the CEO repeatedly invokes the Fifth Amendment during a House panel hearing. So they're trying to get to the bottom of the Act Blue. There's a big Act Blue scandal. That Act Blue is the funding mechanism for Democrat candidates. They go through that. WinRed is the Republican one that just came along recently. Act Blue is the Democrat one. But there's a lot of talk about Act Blue funding a lot of things they shouldn't be funding. And they brought the CEO in front. Well, she's pleading the Fifth. That doesn't mean you're guilty necessarily, but it doesn't make you look very good either. And
she even pleaded the Fifth when they asked her what her name was.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, if you're not sure about it, you better say no.
Yeah.
They're going to take a wide right turn here. You could play this video. So this is the guy that got ousted from 60 Minutes recently. And he's talking about journalists and journalism. So I'm going to go ahead and play this guy.
Nick Bilton's email and then saw him reading to my brokenhearted people off his phone. I felt that somebody had to stand up for the broadcast, not just the broadcast, but the people. There are people in that room who go to war zones when they are pregnant.
Stop for a second. Why would you go to a war zone when you're pregnant?
Yeah.
That's
right.
Just mental problems right there. Go ahead.
Newsrooms are sort of like the military or the police or the beautiful.
They are? The newsrooms are like the police and the military? I kind of get the idea that he may have little aspirations in his head about what he does that just don't meet reality. But yeah, let's keep going.
People at the FDNY down the street, it is a life-threatening job in many instances. And very strong bonds, very emotional bonds are found or are developed in that kind of setting. And to have people running CBS News who don't know that, have never felt that, and don't understand it is a tragedy I never expected to see.
Wow. It looked like the guy was going to burst into tears, and you wanted the guy who interviewed him goes,
Yeah.
"Where's the little girl? Where's the little girl?" Until he starts crying. There he is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's self-importance at a new level. I don't understand that at all. I mean, journalism, yeah, it can be dangerous if you go to the wrong places, but nobody's forcing you to go there. So
Right.
stop telling us how dangerous something that's optional is. It's dangerous walking home.
Yeah. The police officers sign up for the danger. I don't
Yes.
think these 90-pound females think they're going into a war zone with only a microphone and a cell phone as a camera. They didn't sign up for that.
What pregnant woman would go to a war zone? My goodness. There's so many reasons not to do that, but common sense just gone out the door. But he looked like he was going to have an emotional breakdown there. He puts himself, a journalist, up there with police, military, and firefighters. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, he's gone now, so goodbye, Felicity. All right.
Yeah.
New York bill would replace mother and father with gender neutral terms. So under legislation, both Democrats, two Democrats have sponsored this. Mother would become gestating parent and father would become non-gestating parent. And the legal term paternity would be replaced by parentage across family court proceedings, domestic relations laws, child support statutes, and educational law. A putative father, an unestablished biological parent, would be designated as alleged parent in official records. So talk about a waste of money and time.
Yeah.
If this passes, they have to redo all the documentation on this, even if it's not physical, which there is a lot of physical documentation. They have to go through electronically and do this.
Yeah.
For what purpose? I cannot tell you.
No. And then the story below it is completely related to that.
So there's emergency resolution that seeks to stop that.
Yeah.
As a father of two, this is the guy that has filed this lawsuit. As a father of two, it was an insult to me and to my wife. As soon as I learned, the first thing I did was bring my wife into our bedroom and say, "Look what they did up in Albany. They're eliminating the term mother and father from state law." His 9-year-old daughter overheard the conversation and got upset, asking, "Can I still call you dad?" Well, yeah, okay, she's 9.
No.
I'm not going to take a shot.
No.
But
No, because they'll put her in jail for not calling her the proper name.
Right.
Because they're that close to Canada.
Here's the problem, though. I mean, it's so stupid. You don't even want to pay it any mind, but you can't let this stuff go through. So now this is just another waste of time. It's going to be a lawsuit here. Again, the lawyers make out like bandits. They're happy to file these things. It's just, don't we have better things to worry about? And if this is the best thing you got to do, just go home as a legislator.
Yeah.
If this is the best they got to leave.
Yeah. New York is one of the worst run states in the country. And this is what they're concerned about.
Right. All right. I'm going to leave that and go to international news. Hey, we're doing pretty good. Just an hour. So did you see in Belfast, this migrant tried to basically behead a guy on the ground? He was slashing his head
the
and neck.
video.
Well, and we're going to go into it. I guess I'll just say it now. There's massive protests about this. But the UK officials, you know who they're blaming for the unrest? X, Twitter.com. They're blaming it because they're allowed to see, the people are allowed to see what's happening. So their justification is, if they didn't see this, there wouldn't be this unrest. That is the
Right.
most backward thinking I've ever seen in my life. Right? I don't know how long
Yeah.
this is. Go ahead and play it if you want.
Yeah, I don't know either. We'll check.
Mr. Speaker, are rightly
That's a minute.
by the horrific attack on Monday night in North Belfast. As you have just said, the man arrested has been in court in Belfast this morning and charged. I want to thank the Police Service of Northern Ireland and other first responders and members of the public who responded with such bravery. And our thoughts are with the victim. But let me be clear, Mr. Speaker, the acts of violence and arson that followed are totally unjustified. This morning I spoke with the First Minister, the Deputy First Minister and the Chief Constable. And the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland is meeting leaders in Belfast today. We are united in calling for calm and determined to restore order, support the police and all those on the front line, and ensure that justice is done.
Okay, so on the surface, that's not bad. They have to do that. But at the same time, he is the one squeezing people into these problems, into these areas. And Northern Ireland, I don't know if you remember, but they can get upset and they get very balmy and stabby and shooty.
Yes, definitely.
They've had a lot of oppression from the British, from the English for years. They don't forget that. And in the 70s, 80s, it was bad. I mean, they were car bombing a lot of things. So this is not going to end very well, I don't think. But I don't think it's good that you can call this racist thuggery, which is what that guy said. They've condemned the violence.
Right.
That it's not racist thuggery. It's people who've had enough of living in their country and feeling like third-class citizens, not even second-class citizens. Everything seems to be pointed at helping other people other than the people that live there. And I don't understand it. And people are fighting back in Ireland, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, when your politicians don't represent who they're supposed to be representing, people start getting fed up.
Right.
So you either represent the people, or eventually that's what the Irish are doing, is they're fed up from not being represented and
Right.
taken advantage of. And I've just seen videos a couple days ago about vigilante groups going to fix the problem, and they're not going to do it in a legal or safe manner.
Yeah, they're not going to run up to them and say trick or treat. They're going to burn their cars, and hopefully they're not killing people.
And hopefully they don't kill people, but it's definitely not going to be a legal process what they're doing, because they're feeling, like I said, they're not being represented. So.
Right. All right. Last story in international news is Canada just criminalized the Bible. So Bill C9 passed. Preaching scripture is now a hate crime. Quoting the Bible on marriage, sin, or God's design for sexuality can now be prosecuted as willful promotion of hatred. They are just 2 steps behind England. And my goodness, think of where we'd be right now if Hillary or Kamala had been elected.
Yeah. I mean, that's the path of taking away your Second Amendment.
Right.
Is now we're going to take away your freedom especially freedom of religion. Any place out of a church, you can't talk about the Bible. So somebody commented here and said and it didn't. No, it didn't. So I don't know if this passed or not. I have not verified it. If it's not the case, that's good. But this is just a story that we have based on, I didn't even have a link to it. So no, that was all I found on it. That was all I found on it. So,
all right, so don't take that
you
don't take that as word, because we don't have any verifiable sources on that one. And I'm glad somebody brought that up. But yeah, they're getting down to that point. I mean, England, they arrested that woman for silently praying across the street from an abortion clinic, and they arrested her. Now that is real, and they've arrested her twice.
Yeah. Well, then there's the lady in Florida who posted something about the drinking water, in Texas, she posted something about the drinking water, and then they arrested her, but it was for filing a false report to the state or whatever, which she claims she never did. But they also fired the judge who didn't arrest her. They fired a whole bunch of people related to it. So there's something else going on down there too. We got to find out, figure out what but if they're just going after her because she's complaining about the brown water coming out of her tap,
Yeah.
then Texas has got a problem with, that's a completely freedom of speech. So.
Okay. We're going to move on to health and fitness news. We like to do this segment because we like to think that, we think people need to try to improve themselves physically and mentally. This has nothing to do with politics. This is everything to do with people just getting better and doing something fitness wise. And then we'll slice some stories into this for things that we think has to do with health and fitness. So I wanted to put this one up because this talks about McDonald's pancakes and the stuff that is in McDonald's pancakes. So you can go ahead and pop that up, Dave. So if you scroll up, you're going to see the actual text, but it is ultra processed, filled with additives, contains sodium aluminum phosphate, an aluminum-based leveling agent, emulsifiers, including stearolactate, propylene glycerate. I shouldn't be doing this because I'm going to butcher every one of these. Xanthan gum. Well, that's used in almost everything to thicken. Chemical flavoring, soybean oil, and a bunch of other junk. So, when you go into McDonald's, you're not looking at you're going to get the most high quality food. It's just good to know what's in them and then figure out if that's something you want to ingest. But if you read some of the ingredients, man, it's a lot of stuff that could be just made with flour and egg and milk.
Yeah, that's normally what pancakes are, but I see they don't even make them anymore. They just unfreeze them.
Yeah, right. Stick them in the microwave.
Yeah.
The last thing I'm going to say for health and fitness news is the Grandma's Marathon is coming up there in Duluth in about a week and a half. So that'll be a big event here. I think it's the 50th anniversary of it, right?
Of the marathon, yeah. Not the half, but the full.
Right. The half started about 10 years later, 5-10 years later.
Something like that, yeah.
Right. So that'll be something we'll talk about probably next week. And then I'm going to run the half marathon. So, well, theoretically, if my knee holds up, I'll be able to run the half marathon. We'll see.
And it doesn't thunderstorm or we have Canadian wildfires that clog the air up so you can't breathe.
Say that. It's the 1 year in 6 years we haven't had that. Please don't jinx us on that. The first nice day and all of a sudden it starts turning brown and you can't breathe outside. Oh my God.
I mean, the last time I ran the full marathon, it was 93 degrees. So, that should have never even started basically because, more people dropping by the side than anything. So,
yeah. All right. We're going to end here with Dave's word of the day.
There it is. Yeah, I was thinking this is slowly becoming into like a Sesame Street thing where, Cookie Monster. Hey, the word of the day is sponsored by the letters F and the letters U and the number 2. So,
hey, before you do it, I'm going to show a comment from Italy.
Wow,
I got somebody watching from Italy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, their new minister's doing some pretty good things and some very weird things, but I'd love to go visit there, but it's kind of expensive to get over there. But yeah,
we do have a question here too. We have a question here too. This is from somebody that doesn't seem to like us very much, but he asks what the flag to the right of the speaker is. This is the old Minnesota flags. It's not the current Minnesota flag. That's what that looks like. So this has a lot of stuff that has to do with what we produce here. We've got a farmer, we've got a Native American here, we got the sunset, we got rivers. And that was replaced. I don't know if you guys could hear me when I said that, but that was replaced, 2-3 years ago when we had the Democratic trifecta, and they had a panel of 13 people appointed by Tim Walz, and they decided on a new slate flag that looks like the community flag, E pluribus anus. It looks like somebody bent over. So that's the old state flag, and I like to fly it because I like the looks of it. So, all right, let's do the word of the day then. Go, Dave.
The word of the day is grift. A grift is a petty or small scale swindle, fraud, or confidence game. As a verb, to grift means to obtain money or property dishonorably through trickery. The term has evolved from the 20th century criminal slang. Today, it is frequently used to describe someone who exploits an audience, organization, or political movement for personal financial gain by pretending to support a cause.
Now, why would you have that word today? How does that tie back to any of our stories?
Gee, I don't know. We're talking about the leader of Act Blue. We're talking about the SL, the Southern Poverty Law Center, paying off the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah, there's a lot of that's grifting going along.
And
so
people that are opposed to ministers who are in a monogamous relationship but they're married and they're opposing that. That's another grift.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right, man. I think I've had enough. I think everybody's had enough. It's time to end it up. Do you have any parting thoughts, Dave?
No, I was just looking at some of the comments, and they've kind of fallen off the cliff due to desperation to insult us instead of
angry.
Angry. Yeah, normally we like to interact with the crowd, but they're not saying anything. There's just So what do you do? So
here's what we do, Dave. We end the show. All right, so we will be back here next week. We're going to talk about the marathon and anything else that comes up that you may not have heard about. But until then, hang loose, be good to each other, take it easy, and try to get that inner calm. Until next week, I am Sean.
I'm Dave.
And this has been the Duluth Conservative. We'll see you next week. Thanks for